I think that fishing the maggot feeder is definitely underrated, especially in winter when the water goes clear and those fish back away from the pole line. It then becomes one of the most accurate ways that you can fish with maggots. And that is exactly why every angler should have it in their armoury. So in this Match Masterclass, I am going to cover everything you need to know about fishing with the maggot feeder. Okay then, so let's have a look at the maggot feeder. And as I said, I'm convinced that it's probably underused, or definitely not on people's priority as much as it should be, because it's such an accurate way of catching fish when the water's really clear. The fish are scared of having a pole over the top of their head, which means that you have to sort of either go to the waggler or the feeder. Now, both of them are very, very good, but obviously when you're spraying maggots with a catapult, you are nowhere near as accurate as you can be with a little maggot feeder clipped up to the same spot. So I honestly think, apart from fishing on the pole, it probably is one of the most accurate ways of you can fish maggots. So we're going to cover particularly one style today that I really enjoy fishing and how I think the maggot feeder is probably the most effective. But there is definitely two different variations, and I will cover both rigs, but the way that I like to fish it is definitely a much busier way. So you've just seen there, I've pressed on my stopwatch because excuse me, what we'll be doing is having probably 3-minute casts. Now that sounds quite quick, especially when we're talking about this is a very effective method in winter. But when I think the maggot fishing is the most effective is when you're trying to make something happen. And what I mean by that is, with the regular casts, some of your bait is going to come out as it hits the water, and also the rig that I use has got a longer hook length, so I'm getting a slower fall of my hook bait. So as maggots genuinely do, sort of when you're tapping in 10 or 12 maggots on the pole, it's that constant repetition of bait falling through the water and things happening that creates a feeding interest. Now, sometimes it works where you cast out and you leave it and you have 20 minutes, half an hour cast, but I don't think it's as effective there. And if you're doing that, you need to change your rig, which again, when we do the little rig section, I'll touch on what we need to change. But definitely in this style where you're fishing quite active, you're trying to get things to happen as quick as you can, getting that bite time down is super important. I mean, I almost feel now we're getting towards the end of the most effective time, and it's only been in there 1 minute and 25. So, but there obviously is a limit to how many times you can cast. You can't just keep casting in every minute because you're not really going to achieve anything. But certainly like a 3-minute window to start with is what I'd be looking at doing. And I'm literally only putting in sort of 8 to 10 maggots a time. So I'm not really overfeeding anything. And you can probably see that as I've been talking to you here, I'm getting a few indications on my tip. Oh, there we go. So there's definitely fish in the area. But like I said, now it's probably sort of at its ineffective stage now, because I've got that rig with a longer hook link and it's all going to be laying flat on the bottom. The maggots that have come out are definitely probably going to be on the bottom now. It's not really a lot happening out there. I'm now relying on a fish picking it up as it sits on the bottom, which they clearly will do, but you definitely, like, your early stages of a cast is the best thing there. So I'm actually going to recast it now. It's only it's only 2 minutes 25, so I just sped it up a little bit because I'm talking to you. One thing I would do with fishing this rig and this maggot feed is I'd always check your maggots when you come in that they haven't been nibbled, because it's probably not the most effective way of hooking them, but it's probably the most effective way of catching them. Hopefully that makes sense as we go through the video. So all I'm doing is literally, like, just because you've got a maggot feed on doesn't mean you have to fill it. I've literally got 10 maggots in there and clipped up to my spot, and we go back out and repeat that process. Because now, like I said, there's a few maggots come out probably as that's hit the water. I see a couple come out actually as it's just above the water. So they're going to be sinking. The feed is now on the bottom. Be really careful not to move it. But having a slightly longer hook link means that that is now still probably falling down. I get a good sort of 20-second bite window. Let's just start and stop that stopwatch again. Yeah, and just when things are happening, like this is the time, be really careful not to move it. This is the time where you think fish are looking to feed, because I don't think feed is actually empty that much when they sit on the bottom. Maggots in the cold water, they get into a bit of like a shock. So although they're wriggling nicely in my bait tub now, when I cast them in, if you drop a maggot feeder in a bait to water, they don't really crawl out of the feeders that quick. I think the feeder's empty when the water flushes them out. So whether that be as your feeder is sinking or when you reel it in, that's when I think, wait, there we go. That's what we're talking about. How quick was that? 40 seconds, that bite. Because like I said, things are happening. So where I'm fishing out there is 5-6 foot. So it's going to take probably near on 40 seconds for those maggots to hit the bottom. So as those maggots hit the surface, they get flushed out as the feeder's coming down. You got a little rain of bait coming down. Like I said, that's definitely when fish are more active and more prepared to eat. So if you get your rigs right and your feeding right, it can be a very, very effective way of fishing. Like I said, here we go, another little F1. Notoriously hard to catch, but they do like a little maggot feeder. I'm telling you, this is a method that, you know, to be fair, even I fall short of this. I probably don't fish this method enough. And every time I do, and sort of you realise that they've been backing away from your pole and you've missed out on loads of fish that you could have had by not having a pole over their head. And it just makes me think that, yeah, everybody probably should be fishing this a little bit more. So we'll just do that once more. Hopefully we're going to catch a few today. But like I was saying, it's that rain of bait coming over the top of it. And once we catch another couple, I'll talk through the rig and everything, because it does need to make it happen in the way that you want it to do. So I'm just starting with a couple of red maggots. I have got white as well, but again, we'll do a little section on baits. Now I know we're only using maggots, but there's definitely stuff that you can do to make them better. And I'm going to go straight out back onto that mark. I would have a couple of swims if I'm honest. So this one will be my main line. We've caught a couple of fish on it. It'll be my main line now until anything goes wrong. But definitely don't be shy of trying to find out. Let me just start that stopwatch again. Don't be shy of moving your maggot feeder around and trying to find fish. Certainly if there's features, there's not really any features here in this lake, but if there's islands and stuff like that, then you'll find that there'll be depths of water that the fish feed better in. So you might have to be 1 metre away from the island, you might be 2 metres, you might be in the middle of the lake. So once you've found them, you can then create a little bit of a feeding area, which is hopefully what we're going to create here. But what I'll do is if I have a little spell where it's not so good, then I will move just way, there we go, it's another one. This is perfect. It couldn't demonstrate any better. That one is, again, 40 seconds. It couldn't demonstrate how much better what I've been saying about it all happens quickly because it's while bait is falling through the water. I really don't think that it's that appealing, that attractive when things are just sitting on the bottom. There is the odd occasion, perhaps big carp, not so many fish in a lake where you are fishing in that style and you're waiting long periods of time for a bite. And like I said, if you're doing that, you definitely want to change the rig, because although this is clearly very good at catching them, as I mentioned, it's not the best at hooking them. But there we go, that is a wicked start, and probably hopefully demonstrates exactly what I was saying about how effective it can be when it's fished in this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably catch a few more of those, and then we'll take a little bit of a break from the fishing and we'll talk through the rig and exactly what you need on your rig to make it fish in this way. Just such a lovely way to fish and catch. It just feels so neat. That's what I was saying about how the feeder is so accurate compared to a catapult. But what I'll do is I'll talk through the rig. I'll take a little break from the fishing, because if you're going to fish it in this style, and by this style I mean this active falling through the water style, you need to match your rig to it. So first of all, I've got a very, very small feeder that runs freely up and down the line. And I do want it quite small because, like I said, we're plopping it in quite a lot. I don't need to hold much bait, first of all. And secondly, I don't want it to make a huge amount of noise. I want it to make a small little plop, release 10 or 15 maggots, and you're absolutely spot on. That then runs down to a little rubber float stop that I've got above my twisted loop section. So I'll just twist my loop section in, and on the end of that I've got a quick change swivel which I can attach my hook link. And one thing that is quite important to do when you're setting this rig up is to make sure that your little quick change swivel here that's on the end of your twisted boom hangs below your feeder, because that will stop massively any tangles happening. So that really does help to keep it all nice and neat and stop getting in knots throughout the day. So you can see it spins around. This twisted loop section creates like a little bit of a boom away from your feeder, and as long as that's below it, you're going to be pretty much tangle free all day. And then this is where this style of fishing really does come into it. So I've got on here this is about 1 foot, this hook link, but this is where you want to change it throughout the day. So I'll get fishing again, we'll explain it. Because you've got a quick change swivel, you can just change your hook link, and I've got a real small size 16 hook because I want to move things on and keep things falling. That's what I'm good. It's very, probably heard me say it so many times now, but just making things happen. So again, all you do with these feeders is you snap the top off, that just rests on there, and I'm literally a pinch of maggots. I don't fill the feeder up, and we go straight back on to that mark. So here we go, and like I said, I think a few of those maggots are going to come out on impact as the feeder's falling through. They're going to start falling down, and that long hook link, what that's going to do is allow my maggots to be sinking. I'm probably going to get a good 20 seconds of those maggots falling on my hook until they hit the bottom, and then I'm probably going to say like another 40 seconds maybe on top of that until the very maggots that hit the water are still raining. That maggot stinks really, really slowly. I pulled it off the rest. And when they're sinking so slow, see what I mean? They're definitely watching it. Like that hadn't even settled, hadn't even got it on the rest, and it has pulled it in. And that is 100% because they're watching it on the way down. So what I was saying about the hook link is a real balance between having a hook link that's short enough to hook them, because let's face it, I think we've all seen enough carp fishing videos now. This is a little tiny one. We've all seen enough carp fishing videos and underwater and stuff like that, that a short hook link definitely has better hooking properties. They've got less movement to get away with it. This is a real small little lively one. Calm down. Right, I'm just going to unhook him and get him back, and I'm going to carry on talking you through it. So yeah, a small short hook link gives them less movement to get away with it. And what I mean by that, if I hold it here in my hands, you can see from my feeder to my hook here, there's a lot of movement. That fish can move a long way before it feels the impact of my tip or the feeder. But what it is getting with this long hook link, you know what I mean? It's getting a low, lovely, slow fall as the feeders hit the bottom, and we're getting, this is where these fish are watching the bait, and you're trying to catch them quite quick. And the balance between your hook link is having it short enough to catch a few fish and be pretty decent on the hooking properties, but it's also having it long enough to get a nice slow fall. So that is something that you really do have to mess around with. Now, why I go for this length is because here there's quite a few fish in here, and I'm expecting to catch a fair few fish, as we already have, and you've seen it. So fishing this style definitely works in a venue that is better when there's a lot going on, when there's a lot of fish to go at, and you can expect to catch while making things happen. But with that hook link, you know, I've fished that hook link up to 3 foot before, because I want an even slower fall of when my bait's going down. You know, if we're catching all the fish really quick, which at the moment you've seen we're doing it live, there's no cuts in it, then basically you can pretty much say that they are watching that bait, and they're doing it on the fall. They're eating the bait on the fall. So if it was really hard and bites are an absolute premium, I might even lengthen that hook link sometimes if I'm expecting just a couple of bites throughout the day, because it's lengthening the window of which the fish can grab it and see it. I think movement is just so key. It really is. Let's start that stopwatch. Not that we need it at the moment, but yeah, if you wanted a longer fall and bites are at a real premium, then yeah, lengthen the hook length, get yourself a slower fall, and it works out like that. But I did mention while that's fishing that there's two ways that you can fish the maggot feeder. I'm going to be honest, I pretty much only fish it in the way that we're fishing now because it is just so good. There's another fish that was under 30. Oh, I've lost it. Under 30 seconds on stopwatch. That wasn't very good. But there is another way. So what I'll do is I'll get this loaded back up and going out there into water. And one thing I said at the start, you might have heard it. I said always check your maggots when you come in on this method to see if they've been nibbled and eaten, because I have mentioned that it's not the ultimate in hooking the fish. So if they're getting away with it and your maggots are being chewed, then you might want to shorten your hook length down because you're missing bites that you're not seeing. But if you're getting no chews, no bites or anything, lengthen the hook length and go like that. But right, let's get this one back in there. And I'm actually just going to leave that on there. I'm not going to sink the line, because what I want to do is I want to show you the other one, the other method that I'm talking to you about. So I was then going to say I only really fish it in this way because I think it's so effective, and hopefully we're proving it. But the other way is this. It's an inline maggot feeder with a 6-inch hook length, maybe even a 4-inch hook length. So you can see how much less room there is for them to hook themselves against that feeder. Now, when would this be better? Probably if you were in a situation where there's much less fish in the lake, maybe bigger fish, and you were casting out for 20 minutes, half an hour sometimes. Eventually those maggots will crawl out and they're making a nice little pile. The hooking properties are probably better on this, and that's when I would maybe use it. But the reason why I say maybe and the reason why I don't use it is because, to be honest, I think if you're setting that trap and you're fishing in that style, I think just like a little hybrid feeder, a little method feeder is better anyway. So that's really why this sort of inline feeder that I've got here, I don't particularly use it that much, because for me, you don't get that falling through the water, the initial traction, everything like that. You lose all of that just for the advantage of having a better hooking properties, and I don't think that outweighs the effectiveness of fishing it in this style. So they're the two ways that you can do it. Like I said, the active way, the long hook link way, that's what I prefer. But definitely some venues, sometimes the little sort of set your trap, heavier feeder, inline feeder, short hook link works. So try them both, see what you find's better, maybe even have both set up on a day. But I'm pretty confident that you could go with what we're fishing now and have a pretty good day at most places. It has been absolutely mega. Don't know why I sort of sound a little bit surprised, because yeah, I definitely fall short myself of not using this enough, and a lot of people do. But let's have a little look at the baits. Now, obviously, as you would imagine, we're doing a maggot feeder video. All I've got is 2 tubs of maggots. I've got red maggots and I've got white maggots. I keep them separate for a reason I'll come on to in a little while. But as always, if you watch any of my Match Masterclass, this will not be a surprise for you. I've shown this so many times, but I always look to enhance what I can, and the maggots are no different. And what I use is the Shake and Catch from Dynamite. It's a flavour and a colour enhancement. So the red one goes onto the red maggots, the white one goes onto the white maggots, sort of a slightly yellowy colour, but it's perfect for white maggots. It's the red krill and the F1 sweet. And what I would advise doing, as soon as you get your maggots, preferably the night before or even 2 nights before, is give them a good dusting of this good coating. And what that will do is, instead of using maize or sawdust, this basically acts to keep your maggots dry for a starter. That's the primary sort of thing you get with it. But then additionally, you're adding a bit of dye, so you make them a darker, deeper red, or a nice, vibrant sort of slightly off-white. And then you're also getting the flavour as well. So you're getting so many positives from basically just swapping normal maize meal for something that's going to give you something a little bit different to everyone sitting around you. And that's always something that I would advise, to try and be a little bit different to everyone around you. So we'll go back out there again. And the reason why I keep them separate, I'm now going to, I mean, last few chucks, what I've done is I've switched over to white maggots. Not because we won't catch him, but in certain situations, obviously what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help you out if the fishing isn't quite as good as it is here at the moment. And the amount of times where I've been fishing red maggots, and I think red maggots are people's favourite. I don't know why, but as match anglers, if you've probably done a survey, I would say red maggots come out on top as what people use. But what I find is, I have red because they do work, obviously, but I really like white maggots. I'm massively switching over to them. And the amount of times that I've been fishing away with red and then you sort of change it up, and change is always good in the winter. You always find that you need to keep fish coming. You need to change things throughout the day. So just switching to white can either change the size of the fish, the regularity of the fish, all sorts of things can happen. So just give yourself another option is what I would say. And while we're on the subject of things that can help you, you've noticed throughout this video, I'm starting and stopping every cast. My clicker that I've got here, my clicker's got a stopwatch time and everything about it. And I would say that keep yourself proactive. It is so easy. Like I said, I'm fishing like 3-minute casts, but if you're in a match situation, it's so easy for 5 or 10 minutes to pass. Like, you could be watching someone else catch a fish and you sort of wait for him to net it, go out again, see where he's fishing, and before you know it, you've been sitting there like 10 minutes. And if you're going to be doing that, I've already said it, but this probably isn't the best rig for it. It's probably the inline one or a little hybrid feeder. So definitely keep yourself disciplined fishing in this style. Use your stopwatch quite religiously. I'm not saying get to the exact second and reel it in, but just sort of a little reminder every time that you need to be doing something to make bites happen. And if they do slow up, let's face it, winter fishing is hard at times. You know, this hasn't flown around in the first 40 seconds like it had in quite a few of the other chucks. Quite often, they can just move slightly. You can have a mega sort of hour, 2 hours, and you can't do anything wrong. You think, I'm going to win the match by £100, and then all of a sudden you don't get a bite. That's because the fish in winter are very moody. Like, they might just go a little bit further, a little bit left, a little bit right, or you might have to rest the swim. So it's like I said at the start, where have another line that you can do exactly what you're doing here, but just move it. So if you find yourself in that situation, definitely try and keep bites coming. There's lots of things that you can change, the length of hook length, where you're casting. Like, this is only quite a small lake, so they might go left and right, but really, if you're on a big expanse of water, then so many times the fish will back away from you. Obviously my line's going through my swim, I'm reeling fish back this way. What you tend to find is the fish go away from that. So if you are in a bigger expanse of water, there we go, there's a, oh, yeah, there was a fish. Oh, I lost him as well. God, I lost 2 now, that is not good. That was after 2 minutes. See if we can rectify that. But yeah, what you often find is they move away from you, and just taking a metre off your line clip and casting out again can be a real difference into having another sort of 20-minute spell of catching them. You just have to keep chasing them around and trying different things. So let's go back out there again. So it seems regular casting, but I'm really not putting many maggots in there, and I've got a really small feeder. So I do think that those things put together do make a difference. So again, stop your stopwatch, reset the time and start. That one was just over 2 minutes, so still within the bite window, but like I said, really the most effective is the first minute is really effective. I've had a couple today where I've just been sinking a line like I am, and have pulled it straight out of my hand, which is, you know, perfectly indicating that they are watching those maggots fall, and it's the movement that's making a reaction. But if you want to have a go at this style of fishing, I guess I should probably touch a little bit on the rod and reel. It's not actually that important, but one thing I would say, you're fishing for winter, your bites are at a premium, get yourself a nice lightweight rod, and more importantly, a very, very soft quiver tip. This is an ounce quiver tip I'm fishing today. If I could fish with a quiver tip that was, that's better. If I could fish with a quiver tip that was half an ounce, trust me, I would. It makes a big difference because one, you're not moving your feeder off the spot when you're sinking your line, and two, you can see all of those little indications. So having a light quiver tip is very, very important. But the rod I use is the Ethos XRF in a medium feeder, and it's 11 foot. So basically, all you need is a nice lightweight rod that you're not going to be, I say this, you're not going to be losing fish, because I have lost 2 today. But that is, just wait for that train to go past. There we go, nice little F1. But yeah, I know I have bumped a couple there, but that is just fishing. But it's probably eliminating as many lost fish as you can, having yourself a nice lightweight rod. So gear yourself up with that. I've got a 4,000 or a 3,000 size reel, absolutely spot on for that. And I've loaded it with 4-pound line. Try and keep things nice and lightweight. So I've got 4-pound reel line, 4-pound hook length, like size 16 hook. Just trying to get yourself bites. Today has been one of the ones where it's just going right. It doesn't always happen like that. I'd be chuffed if I was in a match situation today, but pretty much most of the bites are coming within 2 minutes. Have I cut to 3? I think I may have a couple of times got to 3 minutes and had a recast, but they really have been responding super well to that. Sit and make some noise, get your bait falling through the water, get yourself catching plenty of fish. There you go, just like that. That is pretty much all there is to maggot feeder fishing. Hopefully it's given you a bit of inspiration to get back out and use it if you're one of these anglers that used to and have put it away. Like I said, I fell short of it, and you forget how effective it can be, and today has really cemented that for me. It's been absolutely mega. It's been pretty much like a fish every cast. It's been super good. But if there is anything that I went over that didn't quite make sense, or you want a bit more information on, please obviously do drop me a comment. I'll answer them personally as always. But for now, I think that's all there is for me to show you. So I do hope that you've enjoyed it. Don't forget that if you want to follow more Match Masterclass and other content, to hit that subscribe button, drop the video a like, and we'll be back very soon with another Match Masterclass.